All right, record on the computer. All right, it says recording.
Yeah, it's not
You
letting
on
me
your end?
record. It's not letting me record, but it's fine. I think we're good. How
Okay.
long do you, yeah, whatever, dude. Whatever you put up, I'll just share. So it's all good.
Yeah, I mean, I'm hoping like 20, 30 minutes here. Yeah, 'cause I can always put it up on Dropbox and share it
Perfect,
with you
man.
that way too.
And we'll get you on mine next week, man, and I'll interview you as well if that's still something that you want to do, right? Of course.
Oh yeah, for sure.
Perfect.
Yeah, and I apologize about the crazy schedule.
Oh man.
It usually doesn't happen this way. It's just everything started filtering in at once. I was like,
No,
oh
man.
no.
I'm on the same boat, dude, and we'll make it happen. I'm totally understanding, and I apologize if on my part I've been a little all over the place as well.
Yeah, it's all right. All right, let's get
For sure.
going. Welcome to back to the Marcus Allgood Show. Today, I'm super excited. I got Mr. Paul Vibes on the show today, and he is a local motivational speaker, and host of the People's Podcast, and he is from Long Island, New York. Welcome in, Paul. How you doing
Hey,
today?
thank you so much. Thank you for welcoming me with those good vibes, and I'm super excited to be on your show.
Great. I'd love to hear that. I'm pretty excited to have you on here too, because one of my passions that later on is going to be motivational speaker, and I want to start on the local level just like you did. And got my podcast going, and I've listened to some of your podcasts, which has been pretty good. And just the vibe that you put out, and you're just so positive and inspirational just by the way you talk and just how you go about your business. And one of the things that I want to talk about 3 different things today. I want to talk a little bit about your podcast. I want to talk about what your number one passion is going to be, and then a little bit into the public speaking, but also what you're doing for the kids up there. I know you're helping a lot of the kids out there, so we're going to get into that too. So how's your day going so far right now?
Perfect. I appreciate you checking in with me. That's something I like to do as well. I'm feeling good, man. I'm grateful I had the opportunity to talk to people like yourself, networking, connecting. As you know, I reached out to you, and I'm just so grateful that I have the opportunity to use this downtime that we all are currently having and trying to just make the most of it. Making connections, trying to keep my good vibes up, as you said, and just make the most of it.
Awesome. I love to hear that. Thank you for sharing that too. Let's get into it. So what is your number one passion?
I would say if you had to put it down to one sentence or so, my biggest passion in everything that I do, whether it's my motivational speaking, whether it's my podcast, whether it's talking to somebody at a cafe or walking down the street, is the power and importance of connection. And I try to remember that in everything I do in life, because as you know, one little interaction in your day can make a huge impact for that person and yourself, and it has a ripple effect. And I am just in love with connecting with others.
That is awesome. It's so true. Like I like to walk through Walmart and just smile at the people walking by. And so a lot of times they just look at you crazy. Sometimes they'll smile back. And I'm a big believer in like looking people in the eye when I do it too. It really shocks
Definitely.
them. So what's one thing or what's a couple of things that you do when you're walking around town to interact with other people that you don't even know, just to make their day better?
Well, it's funny you brought up the main thing. The number one thing is every interaction in life, as you know, the saying is you speak more with your body language more than the words. The body language, the energy that you put forth is almost more important than the words that come out. And to me, the first thing in every interaction, no matter if it's with a family member, a friend, or someone you just met, is that smile. So when you have that smile, you're gauging how open that other person is. Because I'm sure you've had the same thing. You may make that smile 100 times, and not every time someone's going to smile back. But when someone smiles back and that eye contact is there, that opens up this portal of, hey, maybe I can go up and talk to this person. This person seems cool. I think they're going to be okay if I go and approach them and engage with them. So when I'm out in the community, I'm always making eye contact, engaging how friendly and open that person is. And I smile. And if I see that they're open, I might go up and compliment them. I might just go say, hi, I'm Paul Vibes. How are you? Or just see whatever the present moment brings. But that smile is really like the first step in all of my interactions throughout my day.
That's awesome. It's so true. Appreciate you sharing that too. I found it like you never know who's gonna walk away from that one smile and been like, you know what? I hated myself today, but that person just smiled at me, and now my day has just gotten like 100 times better. And that's where I'm trying to bring it. Sounds like you're trying to bring that same kind of vibe to everybody that you come in contact with too.
I don't think we're trying that we're doing it, and you do it as well. I remember I saw you do. You did a podcast with my good friend Elisa, and you've done a lot of podcasts with different people that I've seen throughout your Instagram and social media. And you always have that good vibe. Even when I called you, you were so open to collaborating and teaming up and supporting each other. You weren't asking anything in return. And even though I didn't see you in person, I got that vibe from you that you were open, you were welcoming, you were accepting, and you had, most importantly, those, good vibes.
That's awesome, man. Like I said, I try and put it out there too. And same way when I got you on the phone, like the same as your Instagram shows, like it's in your voice. Like you're just like I can feel like you're smiling the whole time, like you're talking every time. It's awesome. All right, let's move on a little bit. What do you mainly speak about when you do public speaking?
Well, it's again that connection, the power of connection, and it's funny because I'm a certified substance abuse counselor. I also have years of experience working with the special needs population, which I actually feel like they teach me more than I teach them oftentimes. And whether I'm speaking about a drug addiction or mindfulness or overcoming bullying or overcoming challenges, the overcoming challenges talk that I give is my main talk, and I kind of tap into a lot of the other subjects within that talk. But it all comes down to connection. I know I say that word a lot, but I think you would agree with me that connection is the most important thing. And my goal as a speaker is I want students, especially young adults, because the main population I speak at is middle school and high school, but also I speak to libraries, I speak to organizations, I speak to community, I speak to anybody. But my main thing is wanting them to connect inward. What do they want to do with their lives? What gets them excited? Connect inward, whether it's through meditation or volunteer work, finding their inner purpose. But I also want to empower young adults, especially, to connect with the people and the resources around them, because there's so many different things that students, I'm sure you've seen it, that deal with nowadays. Cyberbullying, insecurities, suicide rates are on the rise, unfortunately, especially during this COVID time. And there's so much that young adults are just not equipped currently to deal with. And I can relate. I'm not so far disconnected by the young adult population. So when I speak at schools, I want them to be empowered to speak to their parents or speak to friends' parents if they need help, or reach out to the counselors or seek professional help. Because as you know, with technology, we had this idea that we can get anything we want from the internet. And it's a great tool, but oftentimes we don't realize how important it is to connect with an actual person. And I'm sure you've seen that many times, whether it's at a dinner table, when you're out in the community, everybody, especially young adults, not even everybody, they're all staring at their phone and they're not connecting with other people. So I try to bring back that human to human connection throughout the different talks that I give.
That's great. And it's so true. Like like as a family, we try and put the phones down every once in a while. I mean, I still own the gym, and you get that phone call and you never know if it could be a client or if it's a telemarketer. So normally I try and answer it, but it's so weird. A lot of people they don't leave voicemails anymore. And so I have to call them back anyway. So I might as well just answer it. But for the most part, I mean, we try and look at each other in the eye, the wife have a conversation, and our kids are 6 and 2.5. And we try and have like real conversations with them at the dinner table, and then of course play some games. But you look around and it'll be like a dad and his son on like, let's not call it a date for the guys, but they're out together just eating some lunch or dinner, and they're both on their phones. I'm like, oh man, come on. There's gotta be something to talk about.
And I've been there. We had that. We want to text everybody. We want to post everything that we do. And I'll be honest, that's something that I have to work on every day. And I'm aware of that. Is sometimes even my friends, I'm like, hey guys, maybe we can be in the present moment. Because I'm big into, I'm sure you know Eckhart Tolle, The Power of Now, and New Earth. I'm big into spirituality. That's actually a big thing that we're going to talk about when you're on my podcast. Is I love talking about deep stuff like you. And I try to incorporate things into, how do I be more in the present moment? But it's hard. Like it's hard with social media, and I'm sure you relate to this. Like you're getting pulled in so many different directions. And
Oh yeah,
when I'm giving a talk,
big time.
it's hard because sometimes students will be on their phones. Obviously, the teacher there supervising, they can't make sure every kid is off their phone. So it's something that we all have to deal with.
Yeah. Oh yeah, for sure. Like we went to the beach yesterday, and I just left my phone in the car. I was like, whenever we go to the beach or something like that, I'm not even gonna read a book. I'm just gonna be in the present with the kids. Like I'm never gonna get that moment back.
You know,
Like it's
I,
just
I
not
went,
gonna happen.
there's something that I do lately, and I'll tell what you think about this. You maybe not be able to get away with this because of your different businesses that you have, but what I do is at night, I put my phone in airplane mode because the idea that there's also health benefits not having those waves and things go on while you're sleeping. But then what I do in the morning is that gives me time to ease into my day. Because what would normally happen if it was on airplane mode, you'd be bombarded all these text messages, calls, Facebook notifications, whatever, it's social media notifications. And then when I'm ready, I'll turn it on when maybe after I meditate, after I showered. Now, of course, there's pros and cons that you might miss an important call or something that's urgent, but it allows me to kind of ease into my day instead of just being overwhelmed right when I wake up.
100% agree with that. Mine's not in airplane mode, but it is in do not disturb mode from 10 p.m. to 7 a.m. And I get up at about 5 o'clock, and I don't shower yet because I usually shower at night. But I brush my teeth, splash some water on the face, get dressed, meditate 15 minutes, drink some lemon juice, lemon water, and then do some stuff. And then maybe around like 6:30, closer to 7 is when I'll actually like maybe pick up the phone. Like you are 100% correct with that. Like flooding your mind with all that stuff like so early in the morning is just going to it just basically puts more stress on your day. Like, so you're just setting up your day in the wrong way.
Definitely, I agree. And when I'm speaking, I'm not just at schools. I'm not just talking about my challenges and inspiring them through different stories. I'm also trying to give them different tools that they can incorporate into their lives. I think that's really important.
Oh yeah, the kind of brings up the other topic I kind of want to talk about is how did you kind of talked a little bit about personal development, kind of with talking with the kids. What are some other techniques that you help bring up to them for personal development? Not just their morning routine. Obviously, that's just a huge one for personal development. If you don't have a morning routine, then you should definitely start one. But what are some other tips you give the kids for personal development?
One of my biggest things that I talk about in the different talks I give is the importance of volunteer work and community service. I personally found myself through volunteer work. I actually grew up with a learning disability, still something that I face to this day. I was choked by the umbilical cord, and that affected me greatly during my time in school. I needed extra time. I needed a resource room to help me with different homework. I needed tutoring after school. And that really caused a lot of different confidence and self-image problems, as you can imagine, growing up. But to me, the big turning point was actually volunteer work. I remember sitting there with a veteran, just listening to the veteran. It was back in probably 2008, 2009. And I was just sitting there with him, listening to him. We weren't doing anything fancy. We weren't playing a board game. I was literally just sitting there and listening to him. And I was seeing the impact that by holding space and listening and just being there for somebody else could make on that person's life, but also your own life. And I had that realization that I am so much more than my perceived challenges. I'm so much more than my perceived learning disability. I realized that each one of us, despite our strengths, our weaknesses, our color, our sexuality, our IQ score, we have the ability each day to make an impact on someone's life. So that moment changed and catapulted me into doing the different things that I do now. I ended up becoming president of a high school club. I ended up creating a non-for-profit after I graduated high school to support the special needs population, where we would basically just plan simple social outings just for them to feel accepted, to feel that they can connect with other people and just, build their relationship with different businesses in the community. And from that experience, I was asked to do different speaking engagements, speak about my journey of creating the Buddy Club and doing the different things I do. I never thought of being a paid motivational speaker. I never thought of that being something that I would do. It kind of happened very organically and naturally. And I know that's similar to you, how the podcast came kind of naturally from the different work that you do. And also I could definitely see the motivational speaker within you as well. And it's just cool to see how life kind of takes you on these different journeys and paths. And it's one of those things where you don't really choose it. It kind of chooses you as you kind of go. And now, as you know, I've been speaking more seriously since about this past November. And that's around the same time that I created my podcast, as well as went to school full time for social work. And if you would have told me last summer that I'd be doing all three of those things, going to school full time, starting my career as a motivational speaker, as well as starting my podcast, I would think you're crazy. But as you know, different things in your life intertwine, and each part of my life right now, whether it's going to school, the podcast, or speaking, they all support each other. The podcast supports me in building connections in the social work field. Going to school for social work allows me to better connect and become a better speaker when I go speak at different schools. So it's really cool to see how this life that I've been living these last few months is just supporting me in a variety of different aspects.
Yeah, that's awesome. That kind of answered one of the other questions. I was going to say, what did you use to overcome some obstacles in your life? And you pretty much just answered that all up in that one shot right there. Besides like teaching the personal development, like what is, we talked about your morning routine. What are some other things that you've done to help your own personal development? Of course, besides what we just talked about on, your podcast and things like that. Do you tend to read books? Did you, like, to get over the learning disability? Did something like click, or did it something, you know what I'm saying?
No, I 100% understand your question. One of the biggest things, like I said, besides the volunteer work, besides the speaking, the podcast, one of the biggest things for me was actually learning how important is, kind of like I mentioned before, the importance of getting resources, seeking help. That's actually a big part in my talk. And actually bringing in positive people, but more importantly, positive mentors, people in my life that I looked up to, people in my life that wanted me to succeed. It wasn't about money or this or that. It was just people in my life who wanted to see me become the best version of my life. And it's kind of funny because during that volunteer experience that I was sharing with you before, when I was sitting there with the veteran, it was a fellow social worker from the high school that really was the biggest mentor and friend and somebody I looked up to when I was in school. And I don't think it's a coincidence that now I'm choosing to become a licensed social worker as well. I definitely think that played a role in it. But to me, the importance of seeking mentors, seeking people who know better, seeking people who have your best interests in mind. I know for sure that I wouldn't be talking to you right now if I didn't have all the amazing mentors in my life. And it's such a great mutual experience because when you help other people, it helps yourself. And luckily from the experiences I've had mentoring other people or having my own mentors, I know that the mentors are also getting, as you know, so much out of it. And I'm just so grateful. Oh, yeah. I'm so grateful. I wouldn't be here today doing the things I do now if I didn't have the dozens and dozens of great mentors in my life.
That's awesome. And it's so true. Like the more I got into personal development and things like that, that I always thought like, well, what am I going to bring to them? What kind of value can I bring to somebody who's already at the top, or like that person that you look up to? Like, what kind of value can I bring? And the value that you bring is allowing them to help you. And it's so amazing like that, because that they had help through most of their lives, so they just want to pass it on to somebody else. And if nobody comes up to them and asks them, they won't ever get that fulfillment from it. And so it's like you said, the more mentors you have, and you don't be scared to ask somebody either. Like you never know who's going to be out there to help you.
And not to put you in the spot, but even you, I can see you being a mutual beneficial friendship and mentorship, because I see you, starting different businesses, looking into this motivational speaking. I was joking to you. I say you look fit, you look awesome, you're in shape. I'm hoping to be in as good shape as you are when I'm your age. And but there's so many ways to bring different mentors into your life, and I agree that it's a mutually beneficial experience, and that's the way it should be. It shouldn't be a take. I think that in life we need more of giving and love and doing for others. There's a lot of people in this world, as you know, that's take. But even when I do my podcast, I'm always just like, come on. And, you had a podcast, obviously. So we were like, hey, listen, why don't we come on each other's podcasts? And it was mutually beneficial. We both have an opportunity to share our stories. And I'm really appreciative of you being open to that. And that's just a great example of just supporting people. And there's this saying, I just want to end this comment on that: rising tides bring up all ships, right? So if somebody's doing well, they can keep that for themselves and keep that to their inner group. But I get so much joy when I'm rising, when I'm doing well. How can I support as many people around me? And as you know, when you put out positive energy, and you put out good thoughts, when you put out good vibrations, more times than not, that comes back to you tenfold. So it's been working this far for me, putting out good vibes. That's why I need myself Paul Vibes, always remind myself, it's all about the energy that you put out to the world.
It is, for sure. And I've 100% witnessed it, like, over and over and over and over. And I was just telling my buddy Jack yesterday that if you put it out into the world and you ask for it and you get it, you better not complain that you got it. And so many people in today's times are like, why am I so busy? Because you asked to be busy again. You asked for this. You asked to do this, this, and this. The world's giving it to you, but now you're all stressed out because you didn't really want it. Don't ask the world for something that you don't want. And I'm 100% believer in that. And then it's powerful when you think about it.
Yeah, it reminds me of what we're going through today in this world. There's certain aspect people used to be complaining, right? I didn't have enough time. I don't have time to spend with the family. I don't have time to work on the projects, right? Now, what complaints do you hear now? I'm sure we hear the same thing. Oh, I got too much. Oh, I have too much time. I'm bored. I want to go back to work. I'm like, man, I am using this time to redo my set, redo my podcast, connect with people like you, man. And, there's going to be people that months from now look back at their time from these last few months and like, what the hell was I doing? And I don't think that you and I are going to feel that way, because I can see you hustling. I can see myself hustling. And, we are our biggest critic. And I know for myself, there's no worse feeling than looking back and saying, oh, why didn't I follow through on this idea? Why didn't I make that happen? And I am not going to have any excuses. I am taking all of this time to really just grow and learn and make connections. And I think that's what we should be doing during this downtime.
Big time. You're so correct. And I actually did take the time. March 19th, I signed up to the real estate course and passed. And last Thursday, I passed my real estate exam.
Congratulations.
So thank you. I appreciate it. So I used the time wisely that I had for 2 months, and I was like, you know what? I'm not gonna let it happen to me again. If the gym closes down again, I'm not gonna be broke. I'm gonna have something else that I can fall back on. And so I was like, let's just I was already planning on doing it a few years ago. So I was like, I have the time now. Let's learn something new. And
making moves. You're making
so many people should have done that.
No, yeah.
Instead of out drinking, those other people are out drinking. I was out studying. I was up at 5 a.m. studying before my kids got up and ready to do things. But anyways, Paul, let's talk about your podcast. You mentioned it several times, and before we wrap this up, we'll let the listeners go pretty soon. But what is your podcast about, and what is the name of the podcast?
Thank you. Thank you for asking me that. The People's Podcast, as you can imagine, it's all about the people. So we bring people on from all different walks of life. But when I have people on, it's not just about showing up their business, their service, their products, trying to sell. That's all super cool, as I'm sure you would agree. That's awesome. But I want, more importantly, people to talk about the challenges they've been through, what they've overcome, kind of like what you're doing in your podcast. I want to get deep. I don't want to just touch on the surface level, the weather, how you're doing, you're having fun. I want to know what led them to do the different things that they do. So the themes that we really touch on the podcast are the themes of spirituality, self-development, wellness. We just had a guy come on the show. You think we have a lot of plants here right now. He brought in like a dozen plants and talked about the healing properties of each plant and the importance of connecting with earth. We just did a podcast of different people from the Black community to talk and have a friendly and open conversation and dialogue about the different things going on in the world. We've had mediums on. We've had life coaches on. We've had authors on. We've had people come on who share their journey of overcoming their learning disability, like myself. some of these people have been told they never graduate college and never drive, and they've accomplished all that and so much more. We've had the privilege of having people on and be vulnerable and share their journey of overcoming substance abuse and recovery and overdosing, and how maybe poetry and rap music has changed their life. So whenever I have a guest on, I try to look at how can these people impact and inspire that person watching, whether it's a 16-year-old watching the show or a 7-year-old watching the show. I try to just bring interesting people who have interesting stories that can make an impact on people's lives. And most importantly, we're just about good vibes. We want to bring out the best of each person we have. And as you've been doing it through, online and, through audio and these different programs, I usually do it in person. As you can tell, I have a nice studio in here.
Yeah.
I've been doing it through Zoom now, my podcast, but I can't wait. I like to connect with my guests. And I even told you when you're in the New York area, hit me up. I would love to have you on the show. But most important, like I said, whoever we have on the show, we're just trying to bring out the best in them and bring a lot of good vibes to the guests and also the viewers.
That's awesome. I love that. And it's so true. Like you kind of hear a lot of the podcasts and they kind of bring a guest on. They just kind of like, it's almost like they beat around the bush and then they're gone. Like they're like, oh, a bunch of nuggets coming in, and you listen to it and you're like, well, he just kind of told me, he like brushed the surface a little bit of what he kind of did, and you actually went kind of deep into the volunteer work that's helped you overcome your learning disabilities. And what do you, like, if you got tested today, I wanted to bring this circle back around a little bit. If you got tested today, like say you were younger and you were having these learning disabilities, do you think they would call you autistic now?
I wouldn't say autistic. I would say I definitely had a diagnosed learning disability. So for example, I had an IEP that supported me. But in my years of working with people in the special needs population and seeing maybe how my disability differs from others, I don't know if I would be diagnosed with something like autism or something like that, because there is a difference. As you know, the more and more research and studies, they're finding more and more out about Asperger's, Down syndrome. But it's funny you asked me that, because I've been asked that in the past, and I don't think that I would be diagnosed with autism. But I just have to add, though, I am very lucky that I was born when I was born, because my mom and the resources out there were very good, and they helped me at a young age figure out that I may have been a little delayed in some ways, and that allowed me to get the support. And there's people who are just literally a couple years younger than me who say, I wish I had that. They just thought I was slacking off or I wasn't taking things seriously. Meanwhile, they had a very similar learning disability to me, but they weren't given the right tools. So I think, speaking of podcasts and all these different tools, we are so lucky to be alive right now, because even though there's tons of obviously very challenging things going on, with technology and research and all the things being created, it truly is. And I wonder if you agree with this. It really is the best time to be a human right now. How do you feel about that?
Oh yeah, for sure. Like I love everything going on right now, even though there's some negative stuff out in the world, but we're all learning everything. And there's so much information out there that when I was growing up, we didn't have the internet, obviously. It didn't happen till, I couldn't even tell you how old I was, but it was in high school sometime, and it still wasn't the cool internet that we have now. We still had the AOL dial-up, things like that. And I lived out in the country, so it was really, really bad. And I didn't really read books, didn't really do much of that kind of stuff until a few years ago, when I started really digging deep into personal development. And the amount of stuff that you could do like that is just amazing. Because like personal development in the 80s, you had to go to a seminar, you had to go buy the tapes, and then you had to wait 6 weeks for the tapes. And then by that time, you probably lost all your motivation. And you're like, I don't even know why I ordered these tapes. So you just threw them back in the closet. And now you can download it instantly. You can get things instantly. And if you use it correctly, you can greatly improve your life and the people's life around you.
Definitely.
And obviously you can use it for the wrong reasons. But like you and me, I'm trying to use it for the right reasons and connect to as many people as I can, and to reach out to them and let them know that we've been through we've been through something before that you've probably been through, and we can help you through it.
Definitely.
And I can't wait to get on your podcast next week and tell you a little bit about my story. And I don't even think I've told a whole lot of people on my podcast how deep my story goes. But I mean, being a drug counselor and an addiction counselor, like, I can't wait to talk to you about it, because I got way more questions. Not really questions, but I'll tell you about what I went through, and then you can tell me, like, kind of how I got through it, things like that. We'll talk about that later. But the main thing is, like, just I'm here to help people, and you're here to help people, and we can help each other by growing our podcast together, and just having people reach out to us. Like, I try and tell people that no question, if I don't know the answer, I'll go find it, and I'll tell you I don't know the answer.
That's important.
You know,
I just want to say one last thing before you close it up. I just want to say, you know, I'm definitely excited to have you on my podcast. I do want to dive deep into your story. But if people are watching this want to learn more about my podcast or also about my talks, they can visit me at paulvibes.com, and also, you know, anywhere on social media like Instagram, LinkedIn, Facebook at Paul Vibes. And my logo is the one behind me, as you know, with the V as the peace sign. But, you know, I really appreciate you having me on, and I definitely am excited to dive deep into your story. And like you said, we're all here to support each other. So if I have cool guests and people that might be a good fit for your show or to watch your show, you know that I'm definitely going to bring them your way.
Oh, yeah, for sure. And remember that, everybody, that's at Paul Vibes on Facebook, Instagram. He's got a lot of cool stuff on Instagram and Facebook. And one last thing, how old were you when you got diagnosed with the learning disability?
I don't know exactly. I know that I'm like I said, I was very lucky. I remember being very young and having people doing tests and very young.
Cool. Okay, cool. Yeah, one of my coaches at the gym, his daughter is actually being tested for autism right now because she's so slow at learning. She's so behind the curve on any grade that she goes into. They don't want to hold her back, so she's getting tests all summer long. And I'm gonna have him reach out to you here later today, probably. I don't know if he will, but I'm gonna tell him to reach out to you and see if he's got some questions for you to see if maybe she's on that track that you were on.
Absolutely. You feel free to send me to even people you think might be a good guest on my podcast, or just I'm always here to support people like yourself in the community, and I might do the same to you. I send people your way who might have some questions, you know.
Definitely. And then anybody that's interested in personal development or has actually gone through some kind of personal growth over the last 10 years, even 3 years. I meet people all the time that are just starting, like 1 to 2 years in. And I've been on personal development growth since 2010. And, you know, it never stops. It never stops, for sure.
Definitely.
Ladies and gentlemen, go ahead, Paul.
No, I didn't mean to interrupt you. It was my fault. I was saying, you know, we're all in development. We're all working on ourselves each day.
Yes. And I told my buddy Jack, the one I mentioned earlier, he was with Sprint for almost 15 years. And, you know, T-Mobile bought Sprint. And so he thought, and they told everybody that they were going to be safe. And he found out Monday that his whole operational team is gone. His boss and below, even up a little bit higher, they're all gone. And they could apply for T-Mobile in like 2 or 3 months. They got severance, of course. But I told him, I was like, you were almost there 15 years. You've not worked on any of your personal development. You haven't read any books. You haven't even tried growing yourself into somebody new. And now look what happened. Your job just cut you gone. Boom, out of it. And so I told him he needs to start reading. I'm going to send him a picture of some books. Speaking of, what are a couple other good books that you've read over the last year?
I think I mentioned a couple of them. The Power of Now by Eckhart Tolle, New Earth.
Yes.
Eckhart Tolle, also the 4 Agreements. And because I'm all about breaking old negative patterns, negative beliefs that limit us. And, you know, even someone like that, you know, might have negative beliefs of I'm not good enough, or I can't move forward, or I can't be this new person because they're so stuck in being a version of themselves. So I like to really read books, and I like audiobooks especially. There's a lot of good audiobooks. I do a lot of driving to school and back and forth
Yeah.
for my job. So I'm big into audiobooks. And also, YouTube has plenty of stuff, as you know. There's so much good stuff on YouTube. You don't need to open a book. You could type in something on YouTube and bam, you're right there.
Right? It's so true. Just right there. I mean, that's how I got started. Motivational speeches on YouTube back when I first opened the gym. I'd listen to Les Brown. He's probably like my favorite one that I would listen to. And Joe Rogan would be on there. Man, of course, I'm going to go blank on all the different
I love Joe
motivational
Rogan.
speakers.
He's good too. He's good.
Yeah, there's so many on there. And the more you listen to it, the more you're going to learn. And you'll learn something new every time. It doesn't even matter how many times you listen to it. It's like reading a book. You'll get something different out of it every time.
So true.
Just depends on where you're at in life. All right, let's get off here because I have to go to the gym, and it's an hour drive, and I got to be there at 3 o'clock, or my 3 o'clock Central. Show you a little Popeye forearm there. Anyways, ladies and gentlemen, I appreciate y'all listening to Paul Vibes. If you have any questions about anything, personal development, learning disabilities with your kids or yourself, reading disabilities, anything, reach out to him. Drug addictions, or alcoholism, anything, reach out to him at Paul Vibes on Instagram, Facebook, paulvibes.com, and he will definitely answer some questions for you. And you can always reach out to me, Marcus at marcusallgood.com, and at Marcus Allgood on Facebook and Instagram. And thank you so much for your time, Paul. And I can't wait to be on your podcast next week. I don't care what happens. We're going to make it happen, though. All right?
Thank you so much for having me.
Thank you. All right, let's stop it here. How do you stop it?